Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness has already stirred up a bit of chaos amongst Marvel fans, as many of them speculate about the surprises that the upcoming movie may hold. The latest trailer has fans believing that some familiar heroes from alternate branches in the multiverse could make an appearance, like Tony Stark maybe? Stay tuned as we unpack the theory and more. First up, teasing a multiverse Illuminati. After saving half the universe from Thanos, Doctor Strange did make a couple of mistakes in Spider-Man No Way Home when he messed up the thin fabric of the multiverse. While all three Peter Parkers may have helped put back together what they could, some major issues were left unresolved. These issues are going to be the starting point for the upcoming Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, especially after what we saw in the post-credit scene in No Way Home. The latest trailer for Multiverse of Madness shows Strange dealing with the consequences of his actions in No Way Home. The footage also shows him being brought in shackles before a mysterious panel, and while it's unclear who exactly is a part of this elusive board, fans have presented some pretty plausible theories. So here's the most dominant theory floating around. Strange is going to be brought before a group from the comics known as the Illuminati, with the biggest twist being that the members are going to be versions of heroes from other branches of the multiverse. The most damning evidence that supports this theory is an interesting cameo featured in the Multiverse of Madness trailer. Even though we don't exactly get to see his face, that is very clearly the back of Patrick Stewart's bald head and voice saying, "We should tell him the truth," which presents a high chance that we could be seeing him play Professor Charles Xavier again. In the comics, Professor X is a founding member of the Illuminati, a secret group of heroes that make cosmic decisions behind the scenes to circumvent bureaucracy. In the comics, a few other heroes we know and love join the team with Professor X, including Tony Stark, Reed Richards, Black Bolt, Namor the Submariner, and Doctor Strange. And that leads us to the second part of the theory, a new Iron Man? One of the biggest names from the list of Professor X's fellow Illuminati members is Tony Stark. The footage from the trailer for Multiverse of Madness shows Strange being escorted by a group of robots that look a lot like Ultrons. Could they be from a universe where Tony Stark was actually able to make his suit of armor around the world plan work? If this is the case, then that could mean two things. We will either see Robert Downey Jr. himself return to the screen to play an entirely different version of Iron Man, or we will see a whole new actor enter the MCU as that version. Many fans have speculated that the character is going to be played by Tom Cruise, since there was a point where he was rumored to be the first actor to play the live-action embodiment of Tony Stark. That would make for a pretty insane cameo. But we shouldn't get too carried away. It's entirely possible that the robots from the trailer are just, well, robots. And even if they are Ultrons, it's entirely possible that they could have been created by somebody other than Tony Stark. Comic readers will know that it was Ant-Man who created Ultron, not Iron Man. Up next, producer Richie Palmer responds to Illuminati rumors. Let's take a look at what producer Richie Palmer had to say to fans in response to the Professor X rumors. He turned to a classic quote from the first X-Men movie and said, "Are you sure you saw what you saw?" He went on to say that there are infinite versions of these characters, which means that just because you heard something familiar doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from someone you have seen before. As most fans may be able to recall, the line was spoken by Ian McKellen's Magneto in 2000's X-Men when he questioned Storm and Jean about the death of Senator Kelly. As Palmer mentioned, there are variants at play in the MCU, so while that may be Professor X himself that fans saw, it may not be the version of him that we've come to know so far. Richie Palmer also addressed the Illuminati rumors that suggested a variant of Tony Stark, played by Tom Cruise, could be returning to the screen. Exciting, right? But in an interview with Empire, Palmer said that while he would love to see Tony be a part of the MCU again, some rumors are just rumors. He also added that if they were to introduce the Illuminati in the future, it would be a lot more MCU-driven rather than following what's in the comics to a T. Now, we have Deadpool's long-awaited appearance. Ever since Disney bought Fox, fans have eagerly been waiting for Deadpool's integration into the MCU. After Disney confirmed that the character would, in fact, be integrated into the MCU, fans began speculating about his appearance in the Multiverse of Madness. Where Loki focused on the sacred timeline and No Way Home revolved around Peter Parker's story, Multiverse of Madness appears to be preparing fans for the ultimate crossover, one that may even overtake Avengers. It does feel like the perfect timing for Deadpool to slip in, whether that's as a major character or in the form of a cameo in the main feature or even the post-credit scenes. With the release of the latest poster for Multiverse of Madness, however, fans may have uncovered a clue that might just confirm Deadpool's feature in the film. If you squint and look at one of the shards of glass around Strange, you might be able to make out the shadowy figure of Deadpool with his index finger over his lips. Now that could just be us seeing what we want to see, but honestly, it seems like nothing is too far-fetched for this movie. Next, the incredible House of M theory. Let's move on to a couple of other theories fans have been brewing. Since Wanda Maximoff joined the MCU in Avengers Age of Ultron, comic readers have been wondering when one of her most famous plot lines is going to be brought to the big screen. WandaVision seemed like the perfect opportunity, but maybe, just maybe, it wasn't included there because it has actually already happened in the MCU. Let us elaborate. House of M was a comic published in 2005 revolving around Wanda, the X-Men, and the Avengers. In the comic, she finds out that her kids were taken from her, similar to what we see happening in WandaVision. She also discovers that her memories and powers were manipulated by Professor X. These revelations lead to Wanda creating an alternate reality and robbing all mutants of their powers. That's the extremely watered-down version of the events that unfold in the comic. So how is that relevant in the Multiverse of Madness? Well, according to the theory, the plotline of the Doctor Strange sequel appears to be recreating the plotline of House of M. One of the most notable scenes from the trailer is when the camera zooms in on Wanda's eyes and we see 2 jail cells. Could the Illuminati be holding her kids in a jail cell in the multiverse? But if Wanda is headed down the House of M road, there's one glaring problem. There are no mutants in the MCU, at least not that we've seen. And while Professor X may be making an appearance in Multiverse of Madness, there most likely won't be room for the rest of the mutants. What if that's because the X-Men were already removed from the MCU? What if Wanda's role in the movie is going to be to bring them back? Sounds like just the right amount of madness, doesn't it? Next, possibly the biggest secret in MCU history. When the trailer shows Strange being arrested, we hear the following words: "We should tell him the truth." Now that could mean a number of things, but the theory that stuck with us is probably the most insane one yet. What if the story that we've been watching unravel for all the Marvel movies yet isn't actually the main story? What if it's happening in a dimension that was created when someone used magic to rid the world of mutants? While this may seem like a far-out theory, if there's one thing that we've come to expect from Marvel, it's that nothing is too far out. Nothing too strange in the MCU. For the time being, Marvel, being Marvel, is keeping the situation strictly under wraps. The studio is also famous for creating and releasing trailers that edit out or hide elements that are meant to be big reveals. So it's entirely possible that the latest trailer for Multiverse of Madness is following the same trend, because it is a bit strange that we aren't shown the characters on the dais, and that there are 7 chairs but only 3 silhouettes featured. With less than 2 months left until the big release of the Doctor Strange sequel, it is likely that there may be some kind of confirmation on Professor X or the presence of the Illuminati in the film. After all, the fans' gears of speculation never stop. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Which of the fan theories do you think seem most plausible? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.